price you gonna pay? First there was a funeral and then there was a trial. Hung me in a courtyard and they let me hang up there a while. Let me hang up there a while. Was spoken. Doctor came out and said, Johnny, your wife's neck's been broken. 3 years she's been lying there in a coma. A little hospital back in Paul's Valley, Oklahoma. I was drunk. I was drunk that night. No woman's flesh, but hers will I touch. No woman's flesh, but hers will I touch. No woman's flesh, no woman, no. Oh, no.
After playing gigs in Berlin and in London, the band went back to Ithaca. Everybody went back to their regular jobs.
This house was originally, we bought it from a guy that owned a funeral home.
A funeral home?
Yeah, you know, funeral home, funeral, you know, dead people. This is the house. That's Juliet. She's a good kitty. I write all my songs on this just about for some, you know, just around. It's just a cheap guitar, but just, it's the only guitar I keep at home, you know. I wouldn't pay over $200 for any guitar. I mean, both of my guitars together cost about $400, I think. This was $50, and anything over that, you're just paying for the antique value, you know, the coolness value, which is cool. If I had a lot of money, I would be cool, but film up.
He fell in love with Kat, still his wife after 28 years.
Sorry.
Hello. Hello.
This is Kat.
Hi. This is interesting.
Kathleen is very shy. But she did bring us the beer. And something. What is this?
When we moved here, he was a dishwasher at a restaurant. And then he started the moving business with Dave with this old broken down truck. And
that's when you began to wonder.
yes. Then I was getting a little concerned, but
when I was young, I really thought I was, you know, I really had a really, to some degree, had a really high opinion of myself. And I think that's one reason I didn't accomplish anything, because I felt like I was such a happening person. I didn't need to do anything, you know. I could just be me, man. That was pretty cool. Then I began to lose that sense when I was in my 30s, or began to wake up to reality.
When you were washing dishes?
You know, washing dishes, and then it's like, well, how cool can that be, man? To have fun and not to have to work for anyone.
Yeah.
That was my aspirations until the point that I did decide to start music. Because a lot of the reason for that was the realization at a pretty late point in my life, I must have been in my 30s, that wasn't enough of a plan. Just not work for anyone and have fun, that was not gonna that wasn't a life plan. So then I thought, okay, well then I'll get a guitar and start a band. You know, that was my practical solution. It was like, okay, you know, Elvis is great, you know, the Beatles are great, but I believe I can whip those guys, you know, and I believe I can do it before I'm 40. Those guys, not Ray Charles, James Brown, like I knew I could never touch that, but I figured, you know, it's just another bunch of white crackers, you know, I know I could do it. Now I realize there's more to it than that, but at the time, that was the mind frame I was in. It was like, you know, the clock is ticking, but I'm gonna, like, you know, that was the big shock to me, was realizing I had no musical, you know, like my nephew moved out here, never played guitar. I taught him what I knew, and 2 weeks later he was like playing, you know, what had taken me about 8 years to learn, he was doing in 2 weeks, and that's when I realized I was in a lot of trouble. Whisper in the nag's ear what only the dumb brute could bear to hear. You are carrying a coffin. Whisper in the nag's ear. A sainted daughter dead, and her 3 days only wed. You are carrying a coffin. Sainted daughter dead. An unborn child and mother drowned cannot be buried on holy ground. Is Dave in here?
Yeah, he went down to the office real quick.
Oh, okay.
So he's gonna go check.
Yeah, why don't you guys hang here? We'll meet you down there in a minute.
How long? Like 10 minutes?
Yeah. Yeah, Dave's already down at the office, so. The office. Repair.
His first album he recorded in a little improvised studio in his office.
Zolar. This is sort of the Zolar end, and this is kind of the music end. And this. Basically, my first record, Wrong Side of Memphis, recorded here on this thing. That's the studio. We had to play real quiet, because...
For the neighbors?
Yeah, I had to kind of cut down on recordings. I got so many, you know, people just be pounding on the ceiling. I wasn't playing that loud, but...
Loud enough.
It's loud enough to keep them up, you know.
So you don't mind him having a studio in here?
No. Up to about a year ago, it was his domain. He did all the office work, and I did a lot of the truck work and ran the crew and stuff.
Your family life influenced your songwriting, but there's a lot of violence, blood and things, and hatred in the songs. Is that was that also in your family? Those kind of feelings?
No, I'd say, I don't know, probably a lot of those songs are sort of like dramatizations of emotional violence. You know, I mean, every song I've written, I think, is sort of a variation of my mother and father's story. But then the whole story, then, you know, he's the king. He has his little army, which is the children. He has his queen. Queen overthrows the king. All of a sudden, king's living in a little apartment. Army and queen moves to Memphis, kind of thing. you know, just sort of to see, you know, because he was sort of one of these all-powerful type people, and he was overthrown by a group of stronger women. So I think this sort of, and for me, I was the only boy. I was, you know, 4 sisters. So I sort of identified with my father as a personality type, even though I sided with my mother, you know. So several months after he died, he gave me this watch, just like this cheap-ass digital. He had all these digital watches that he couldn't, with all these little buttons for setting. He never could figure out how to do them, so he gave them all to me, and I can't figure it out either. But I had one of them. I put it in the truck just to keep time, and one day in the truck, you know, I was just kind of laughing. I said, "This is the only, you know, it's the only thing that my dad gave me was just like, you know, cheap-ass digital watch, you know." And then I felt, you know, it was like one of those, like, you know, I could feel tears coming to my eyes, and it was the first time I'd felt anything, really. Well, so I have to go to work.
Yep.
Apart from singing in the Johnny Dowd Band, I work as a hairdresser in my own studio.
This is Changes. This is Kim's hair studio. So how she makes her living, and is kind enough to have me along for the ride, so to speak. Be doing something else, which is work, but it's not like I'm, you know, moving furniture.
Which you also did.
Which I did, yeah. And I got real old, man. My hands said no. My hands didn't like that, so I had to make a choice, and it's pretty obvious what the choice was going to be. I wasn't going to stop playing the skins for a moving company. And Johnny too, you know. Johnny needed me to play, you know, instead of work, you know. On the truck, you can always get another body, you know. So then, yeah, I started working here, and kind of got adopted into the Changes family. This is one of the most exciting parts of my day. I get to go outside, you know. Anytime, any excuse I can get to walk around, you know, get outside of work.
So this is the laundry for.
This is the laundry.
You wash them and dry them. And...
Yep, because we don't have our own machine. In the old shop, we used to have our own machine. But, yeah. I can play drums real good, but I can't use this machine. Eat it! See, that's the cool thing. It's like my boss, you know. Whenever I go, she's got to go, or vice versa. You know? So it's not like I'm trying to get off of work to go to a gig. American radio.